Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how you can do a quick start with FastAPI and get started with your first endpoints. As the first step, we need to install FastAPI and the Unicorn web server with this command, like you can see in the terminal. After you install that, we can import FastAPI into our application. We are going to import the FastAPI client and statues so we can later return specific statues from our endpoints. On the next step, I'm going to initialize the app. The app is our entry point, and we can use the app to expand or add the endpoints or configuration later on. So now I'm going to continue with the first endpoint. We can use the decorator and then use the specific method like get, post, put, and other methods. We're going to get started with the get method. After that follows the path on which we can reach the endpoint. We are going to do a basic create, update, delete application, so I'm going to call it items. And that's it. Now we can add the items function. So later on we also want to be able to get a specific item, so I'm already going to add an item ID. And this will be an integer with type annotations, like you can see here. And now we can return whatever we want, but in this case we want to return the items, so I'm going to do that. And let's create a fake items array that we can access and use for this example. We can use a basic string array and add items like item 1 and item 2. Now on this endpoint we can return the fake items. I will quickly reformat that file. So, alright, now it looks clean, and we can now start the application. Like with this command, with the Unicorn web server, we are gonna do the main app on port 80 and localhost, and we are gonna add the reload parameter so we can use hot reload, so our changes to the code are instantly applied. We don't need to restart the web server. Alright, now we can enter the page. FastAPI provides a nice documentation that we can, or a nice interactive documentation, so we can enter that with docs. And here's our first endpoint. We can also reach the endpoint on our defined path, like that, just so you know. But we are missing the item parameter, which we can provide it like this. And now we are getting that because the item ID is required in this case. But we are going to use the docs to access the endpoints, so we can go into here. And now you can see the benefit of the docs. You can see the item ID right here and try out the endpoint and enter any ID you want, which we now will implement so the item ID actually does something. So we're going to check if the item ID is none. So if there's no item ID provided, we are gonna, or we can check if it's not none. We can return the fake item at the item ID, like that. Yeah, sorry, my mistake, we need to return something. Alright, now if we have an item ID, we are gonna return the item at a specific ID, or if we don't have any item, we can return all items. And to make this actually useful or provided via the path, we can, so we don't use it as a parameter, we can also do like that. And now we can enter the item ID on the path, so I'm going to quickly show that. So if we have items, sorry, we need to actually also add this endpoint like item, but now we can actually enter items like 1, and we're gonna get the item on index 1, or we can use 0 and get it on index 0, like that. So that's our get endpoint. We can go back into the docs, like that. Can also try it out here. We should get item 1, and we're getting item 1. Perfect. That's the get method. Now we can also implement the actual items, so we can just do that. Like that, we have an items get, and we are going to remove that. And on this endpoint, we just want to return all items, so we don't need an item ID. And it will be updated in our docs. And we have all items, we can execute that, and we are getting all items. Perfect. Now let's add a post method, so we can add items to our array. We can just copy this and transform it into the post method. And we are going to keep it simple. We will return added item, just so we're getting a feedback or return something. And we will just append an item. We can add an item name, like we did for the get method. Item name, this time it will be string. And we will add the item to our fake items, just a basic way, so we can do an append, and we will append the item name. Alright, we will quickly reformat it, so perfect. We can reload and go back into the documentation, and we have the post method right here, and we can try out the endpoint, add an item with, let's call it item 3, I think, yeah, item 3. We are going to execute that, added item. Now we can check our items, and we are getting the third item returned. Perfect. Now I'm gonna quickly, just so we have everything covered, I'm gonna add and delete endpoint. Delete, in this case, we just want to delete at a specific ID. So we can use the item ID again, like we did in our get method right here. We're gonna use the item ID. And we will, I already put it in there. And now we can remove the item. We could remove at an index, or we will just remove the item with the item name. So we are gonna add item name into here. That's it. Quickly reformat, go back into the docs. And now we have the delete method. We can delete item 1, I think. Oh, okay, yeah, just change this text so it actually makes sense. We are gonna remove the item, reload, remove item 1, and we can get all our items. And we only have item 2 left in here. So that's how you can create a basic CRUD application. In a real application, you would want to add a database, or at least add an SQLite database or Postgres database. I can cover this in the next video, but this is just the basic stuff, so you can get started. Now we can add status, what I imported before. So I'm going to quickly show you that. You can add or return a specific status, but in this case, case status should be fine. You see you have a lot of options. Each option represents a specific execution, so for this case we are just gonna return 200, which is okay. You can add this just like that into the decorator. It won't impact anything because it has a standard return, but in this case now it's 200, or any other status code you want to return from your endpoint. So this is everything covered. Have fun trying this out, or implement your own logic. And this is just a basic basic baselines for you to get started and have fun learning, or check out the documentation of FastAPI because it's really well made. So, bye.